Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about a new concept, that is a new economic policy and its objectives and components. In our previous class we discussed about the need for new economic policy and its elements. What are the elements of new economic policy? Already discussed. I think you know that what are the elements: liberalization, privatization and globalization. And you know what was the situation in order to implement this scheme also we already discussed in our previous class. Today we are concentrating mainly what are the objectives of new economic policy and what are the components of it. Definitely when we analyze the objectives of this new economic policy, we will get an answer for some questions or some doubts. You might have raised the doubts in your previous class. Why did our government select this new economic policy instead of our old policy? Or what was the reason or what was the circumstances that led our government to make a new policy? So when we see the situations, the first objective, there are around 5-6 objectives are there. Here we will discuss regarding 5 major objectives. So first one is that the reduction in fiscal deficit and obtaining price stability. Reduction in fiscal deficit and obtaining price stability is the first and foremost objective of new economic policy. So then let us discuss regarding what is the necessity of this reduction in fiscal deficit. Then we can see that during 80 and 90s, the 10 years of period, the fiscal deficit of our country, it was in the year 1981, it was 5.4%. But in 91-92, that reached to 8.4, means 5.4 became 8.4. 3% increase in a period of 10 years. In a decade, if the nation obtained or the nation's fiscal deficit reached in that level, means we can say that we are in a debt trap. So that is why in order to overcome the situation or in order to reduce the fiscal deficit of the nation, we adopted our new economic policy. And second thing, why do we concern about price stability? Price stability we mean a stable price in the economy. It means that the price of the commodity in every day, even if it is the necessary goods or the luxury goods, whatever it is, that the price of the commodity, it increases day by day, or we can say very clearly second by second for some commodities. So it means that this increase in price is not affordable for a common consumer, for a common person. It may be affordable for a rich person, that is second thing. But we are concerned about the common people and their economic welfare. So this increase in price is not acceptable at any level for the economic development. So that is why the first and foremost objective of this new economic policy is to reduce the fiscal deficit as well as to obtain price stability in the economy, means to control the inflationary tendencies. Clear? Second point is that to liberalize the industrial policy and to abolish the licensing system. See, because after the independence, when the nation builders, the crafters of the nation, they made the developmental policies and economic system for our nation under the control of P.C. Mahalanobis and all. You learned about this P.C. Mahalanobis is the architect of Indian planning. In second unit, you might have learned that. So in that concept, it is very clear that we adopted a system. It is none other than mixed economic system. So in this mixed economic system, it promotes both public sector as well as private sector. So it means that nation promotes a welfare economy. So in welfare economy, all the systems, all the things will be controlled and managed by the government. And at the same time, it permits private ownership, private property and profit maximization. But whatever it is, that there should be some control over the systems around. Anyway, we are coming to the point. So that is why we can say that this liberalization, so it is a new economic policy, it ensures a liberalized policy in the industrial system as well as to remove the licensing system. Why do we concern about this removal of licensing system? That we'll discuss in when we are discussing the concept to the next level. We will analyze the measures implemented in each sector. Then we will analyze why do we consider about the licensing system. But now try to understand that the objective of this policy is to reduce or to liberalize the industrial policy and licensing system. Third one is that reduce the emphasis on public sector and promote private sector. That we can say in other sense, privatization means that during 80s and 90s, the performance of public sector units were in India, it was very poor. That was the one reason among the reasons of this new policy. So that is why here again we are in this new economic policy necessitates to support more for the private sector rather than the public sector, because government should turn towards the private sector. That's the third point. And fourth point is that government should encourage the inflow of foreign capital. Means that foreign inflow of foreign capital means foreign direct investment should be promoted more. Means the rich people, rich nation, rich individual, they can invest the money or their capital in any countries of the world, those who are agree with the new policies and all. And the fifth one is that abolition of quota system. Abolition of quota system and tariff system. So why do we think about this quota and tariff system? These both systems, both is quota and tariff. Quota is the restriction of on the basis of some quantity. More than the quantity, quota is fixed on the imports. No country, no person can import more than the limit. So that is a quota system. That also, and the tariff also. Tariff means the imposing duty on the commodities which you are importing from one country to the other. So both these systems were used to protect the domestic industries, because if the nation or the country want to protect their domestic industry, definitely they will keep these two things. They will keep this matter on their consideration is that they will control the imports by using a quota system as well as the tariff system. So both these systems are essential to protect the domestic industry of a country. Is it clear? So these are the 5 major objectives. Once again, let us sum up. Reducing fiscal deficit and this maintaining price stability in the economy. Second thing is that liberalization on industrial policy as well as the abolition of license system. Third one is that reducing emphasis on public sector and promotion of private sector. And fourth one is that encourage in foreign capital, foreign investment. And fifth one is that abolition of tariff system and quota system in the economy. These are the 5 major objectives of new economic policy which we implemented in our country from 1991 onwards. And you know that this period, who was the Prime Minister of India? As we know, that was Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao, and the Finance Minister was the Mr. Manmohan Singh. And I think July 24th, 1991, this policy was agreed, implemented in India for the better economic development. And next step, we are moving to the components of new economic policy. When we analyze this new economic policy, we should have to concentrate the components of this system. Components means elements. There are 2 major components are there for this system. Components. So components are, first one, we can say in 2 aspects, maybe in a short term and long term policy measures. Components we can categorize into 2, short term policy measures and long term policy measures. In terms of microeconomics, you can say demand side, the measures which promotes demand side and measures which promote supply side. Or in common terms, you can say first one is that macroeconomic stabilization. Macroeconomic stabilization. And second one is that structural changes. These are the 2 components. Once again, which are the 2 components? First one, macroeconomic stabilization, and second one, structural changes. So macroeconomic stabilization, we can say, it is other terms, we can say it is a demand side or short-term policy measures. While structural changes are supply side and long-term measures. So by considering both these measures or both these components, let us see one by one. First of all, macroeconomic stabilization. What is meant by macroeconomic stabilization? Or what are the measures taken under these matters? So major measures are to reduce the inflation, promote economic sustainable development, maintain balance of payment system. It's try to make it stable, and these are the major objectives, major policies under this macroeconomic stabilization. And in order to obtain this one or doing these activities and all, we were able to control the inflation, we were able to control the fiscal situations, fiscal deficit, and the balance of imbalances in the balance of payment also we were able to obtain. So these are the short-term measures to obtain that. These are the targets. And second thing is that by doing the structural changes in the economy, means that when we approach this International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD and IMF, these Bretton Woods twins, these two institutions were known as Bretton Woods twins because it is in a hill of Bretton Woods. And these two institutions, I will take you one more class regarding this International Financial Organization and their aims. So as you know, as a summary I'll give you, these two institutions were established after the Second World War in order to maintain the economic stability of the nation, which they were demolished or destroyed because of the war and all. That was the concept during the formation of these two organizations. That we will discuss in our other class. Now we are coming to our concept. So when we approach this bank for getting loans from this institution, primarily, first of all, they requested to change the structure. They demanded the structural changes of the nation. Means what? Because they are focusing basically in order to remove the bottlenecks and obstacles in the development of the nation. This is IMF and IBRD. They were focusing mainly to remove the bottlenecks. Bottlenecks means this country, they were following licensing system. They were restricting the production. They were making quotas and all. They were imposing taxes, tariff on the commodity. So all these things, because of these things, the trade between these two nations, between India and other nations, foreign countries were not much, that was not sufficient. So that is why they were focusing how we will catch the nation and how can we obtain the business, or how can we maintain the business between these two nations. That was the right time when we approached for the loan. Anyway, that time they requested some structural changes should be made in your system. That was a request from the side of IMF. Yes, that we agreed. So that structural changes means that those structural changes will change the supply side of the economy, as well as those measures are long-term measures. So long-term measures we mean not only one or two aspects. It's a long-term policy. First of all, trade and capital flow reforms should be maintained. So trade and capital flow means that there should be free trade. All the boundaries, all the barriers should be removed. So there should be a free trade in the nation. And second thing, this industrial deregulation means that the industrial licensing policy of 1956 IPR, everything should be revised. Everything should be, because some in India, few products were produced only by public sector. That only by public sector should be changed, that the private sector also able to produce a commodity. And there is no such restrictions from the side of the government. And the public sector reforms and disinvestment and financial sector reforms means that all the sector reforms should be maintained properly, and doing these things, the economy should develop. That was the aim. Is it? That is why only the structural changes also adopted. And these are the two components of new economic policy. Once again, I am summing up the policies. First of all, macroeconomic stabilization. It consists of the demand side. And second one, structural changes, that consists of supply side, or in other terms, short-term policy and long-term policy. Thank you for watching this class.